We'll get this thing headed in the right direction. All right, so
You get a chance, you
call the
wanna
work
just start
session to
talking,
order.
go ahead.
Yeah.
Don't need to be there to watch you.
I'll hold
Or anything,
They're pretty
discussion on
awesome.
the website until
If you want, I'll mark
uh,
them.
so we can
I'll get some paint and mark them.
get through the water stuff while we
Why
have
don't you do that?
engineer
Yeah.
here.
you know what I mean, and there's less.
'Cause I've been trying to go in and out with the tractor, there's one spot where the skidders went through
This
and one wheel went up.
update on MOU.
It's not good.
Again,
If I can get in there easier.
it's confidential
it'd be easy
because
to fill
we,
it in.
Mm-hmm.
we don't have
Yeah.
the
Yeah,
MOU
I'll
signed
probably try
yet,
to
but
get over there tomorrow morning
if you
for
wanna
paint
take a look
stuff.
at that, go over it, we do have some questions, we can answer questions, this will pretty much tell you what the last 3 or 4 months of my life's been. Trying to get this, organized. I mean, this is with the sand road. Well, one they don't have really in here because, the county could sell it together on their end. It would take an agreement with the town of Placer, and that's what we'd have to do. We estimate about 15,000 gallons more a day for the sand road one.
I think that was the maximum that they suggested to
Yeah, and, talking preliminarily on the phone and in person with Mr. Cashman, we didn't see that was gonna be an issue. Get gas and water, we would have to get, a water agreement for that one separately, because at this time, we don't have that. If you look at the little blue boxes on this side, you'll see where we've made comments back and forth, and this has been back, I think this will be the 4th time
Oh, at least.
that we've been back and forth with them. And it looks like we're down to a couple issues, so. And they look pretty minor, so. I sent this over to, Mr. Zillow probably 5 days ago. And it takes forever for the other 2 lawyers to go over it and give me something back, so. After you get done taking a quick read of it and looking at it, if you got any questions, let me know. I'm hoping to get at least this part done and signed within the end of the month or so. We'll see how long it takes them to get back to it and what they rate on it this time. Anything you don't like? What's the other thing? Let me know.
Someone had governor says, improvements shall not include replacement of pipe that was recently installed as part of the New York State DOT project, regardless of pipe size. Is there a question
Correct.
on the pipe size?
Well, it's probably gonna be an 8-inch main, I think, going across that bridge.
location, right?
But the thing is that,
So it's not worded that way because of questionable,
Well,
No,
let's-
because
Go ahead.
Because, the plan originally, the proposed plan is 12-inch.
oh, okay.
Right. And what happened was when they did that section for the bridge, they put in 8.
Oh,
And they
alright.
said, well, why are we gonna dig that up and just
I was just getting
replace it?
worried on that because we've got some
Right.
projects going that,
Right.
yeah, it's
They
such a
didn't
small.
wanna have to replace the new main,
Yeah,
right? Just a
Thank you.
plan.
because it's all brand new. Well, I'd say that's about, what, 4 years old now? And it was, at the work session, if you wanna do a pledge, we can, but it's not a meeting, but yeah. If you want, we can.
I don't me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So it's such a small section that it's really not gonna impact the water
Right.
flow.
Nope.
from what I understand. That's a good question. Is that the only one? Okay, so. We have sent in documentation for Curtin to start their archaeological study. That's on the Morrisville Water Project. We're hoping that they can get that done before the snow flies, right?
They're hoping,
Hoping, but we're playing against the
correct.
weather.
Could be tomorrow morning.
The weather hits, yeah, we get snow, it's gonna hold that
Well,
up.
the big thing is, can they dig, right, for the second piece, right? A lot of it's just desktop work, but where we're leaving kind of the beaten path with the water lines, where we have to do test bits.
Okay. Preliminary plans. This is what we're looking at for the change in the main, where it goes down the middle of that field. It would now go, you'll see that blue one that says 12 from the water tower. That comes from our Soper tank over to Flat Rock and then down Flat Rock. So that's gonna take a easement change or right of way change on that pipe. So I did some digging, also Ron did some digging. I talked to Gary today. I got I had him pull up the deeds to find out who owns that land. So we're gonna go up and talk to them and see if they're willing to move that right away, if this project goes forward, that right away from all the way down the center of that existing property to just that top corner. And maybe I'll pick up a couple houses doing that on, of course, on the pressures, but on the Flat Rock Road by doing that. Originally I'd asked to go Soper right straight down Flat Rock, but in order to keep the head pressures, Ron's telling me I can't do that. So, so we had to keep it headed downhill. So to keep it headed downhill, that's where we're at with that. I'll continue to work on that and get you updates as I can. That's just the top one portion of that Muscle Water Project. Any questions on that one? The water project, that water project, we're getting pretty close to being under the gun on that one as far as whether we're gonna pull the trigger on that one.
Yeah, yes, if you have intention of starting it next year, correct. You know, right time, because basically right now, just kind of talk schedule a little bit.
Yeah, just so they
You know,
understand.
nothing's really started other than, you know, the preliminary engineering report's been done. You know, going down the archaeology to satisfy the, one of the funding agencies, TDBG. But we're kind of at that point in the year where we either start doing some things or wait till next spring. Specifically the mapping, which, you know, is gonna be done by aerial photography. So, ideally, this is something, I know this is something you guys have talked about, but ideally, you know, the photography can get done and the control work, the survey control work. So I'm sure some of you may have seen, you know, they paint the big X's on the pavement, so when they fly it, that's the point that they use, points actually, they use to help generate the mapping from. So that's something that we do. We put down the big X's and get the control information on it, you know, where it is in the world and what the elevation is. And then they fly it and take a photo. So, as they call it, it'd be good to have a photo in the can. So if the project is to progress, you have it, and you're not waiting until next spring.
And that gets you, you're saying your elevations, right? The elevation markers, plus, as far as that goes, does that start with any, the surveying that we need to be done?
That's part of
on
the
that?
surveying that you need, right, and that doesn't
That's how
get you
you
the mapping,
put
I
the
mean, that's
X's in
just
the
the
ground?
photo and the control work. And then if, you know, you wanna wait a couple months to start mapping, you know, at least you've got that, cause once there's snow on the ground, you can't use aerial. You know, and of course, we're in that iffy time of year already,
Alright.
right? So that's gonna be up to the mapping company and I guess God to decide whether can happen.
Okay.
Right?
But the importance of it is the fact that it's gonna push us back to, even if we're able to get this part done now, it pushes almost to midsummer before we could really get moving on the project, right?
Well, right, I mean, the difference between starting now with the mapping and the design is you're gonna be bidding, at this point, you know, you'd be bidding the job in June, July, these are
Somewhere
rough
around there.
estimates, of course, versus starting in spring and bidding it later, you know, late in the year. You know, so you're going from definitely gonna go from a 2023 start to a 2024 start.
And the problem that I got with that we're all gonna have with it, or every issue, is that those grants are guaranteed for 2 years as well as a bond. So, with the archaeological study, hopefully they can get that done right now, cause that kinda pacified CDBG for right now. I just got an email from them this week saying, okay, at least we're making progress. But they're not gonna let us sit there and hold on to $8.1 million forever. You know what I mean? And CDBG is usually tougher than USDARD from.
Right, just
you know,
as an
with
example of that, USDARD really doesn't care about the archaeology at this point.
Right,
Fine, they understand that that's part of the project and you're gonna have to do it. And they'll give you money to do it, but CDBG says, no, you gotta have it done as part of your environmental review for us to sign off on the grant. Which is kind of a little backwards in my opinion, but
CDBG is a little bit harder to get extensions on than USDARD.
Well,
So
yeah.
basically, I don't wanna, you know, let's get to that point where we gotta decide where we're gonna start. You know, we're looking at cost estimate 15 grand or better, right?
just to do that,
aerial
just to get
overview and
the aerial
everything.
done and the required control work, I budget $15,000.
So, yeah, that's where we're at. We're gonna start making some decisions on what we're gonna do with it. Or the grants will make the decisions for us and that'll be the end of it. Yeah. So we really gotta start looking at moving the rest of that stuff forward. And, I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew where we were on it. So, that's pretty much that one. No questions on that?
No?
No.
That's gonna bring us to Bricks and I told you guys I'd share this with you. This is the big map. If you wanna look at that. He's gonna have a map for you up there.
I got it right here, Kevin.
Swing them around. Okay.
Where do I
Go
put
ahead.
it?
No, that's fine. Some,
Wherever-
What if I do it right over
yeah,
here?
that's fine.
You guys can, oops, sorry. Just lets everybody see it, I think. You see, okay? Yeah, so this is Richard Avenue project. Gonna just go through it very quickly.
Yeah.
So, let's see, orientation of the maps, it's upside down. Okay, so here's Mason. Basically, we're gonna tap onto the main on the opposite side of Mason Street. All the way down Rickson. And basically loop it back around on itself to allow the properties, well, I'm gonna call them the Trudeau properties, because I think they're all the Trudeaus live there, on this side. 8-inch main, hydrants, Maximum spacing 600 feet.
How many hydrants are gonna be down there?
That's just, we want 2 here and a third one over on that side.
Okay.
You know, appropriate valves, of course, to isolate what we need to isolate, the main one here. But then, a couple up here to be able to flush section, so on and so forth.
Ron, where was the third one?
The third one's actually down here,
Okay, on the Trombley property.
on the Trombley side, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Ron, as you know, and I appreciate your meeting at the county last
sure.
week very much. When you originally bid this project, the bid was for 14,500. The bid was for Rixon Avenue only. Now my question for you is this. Here's your takeoff sheet from Rixon Avenue only. And the pipe you were gonna use there, I believe was a plastic pipe. That pipe was $40 a foot. Or the original.
Yeah,
Pipe thing.
right,
Okay.
right.
Now, at the county, when we had our discussion at the county, you said you had changed the piping over and the new piping is gonna be $125 per foot.
Well, we're mixing apples and oranges a little bit there. See, that's just material.
Right, oh, no, I understand material only, I know that.
Well, no, but that was material price back then, which of course, as I mentioned at the meeting, is no
Right,
longer.
this was
valid.
in July of '21.
Right, and most people probably aware, you know, that we've had wild increases in.
Sure,
pipe
I
material. So-
understand.
So, yeah, that unfortunately you have to take with a grain of salt a little bit. But I was talking about, you were talking about material.
Right,
but
this is your takeoff sheet.
125 was an installed price.
Okay.
So they
So-
don't match up.
Ron, the whole point in this whole thing, why I'm sort of objected to, well, I am objecting to it. And the reason why, it started off Rixon Avenue only, 725 feet. Now, we're using ARPA funding and we're going into a private development. And my fear is this, we're gonna run out of ARPA funding. This board has already went on the Macy Lane project. I don't wanna run short of money to get on Macy Lane because they're right to the maximum. The water bills there are unbelievably high. And that project came in, we're gonna take $30,000 out of their budgeting. And honestly, I don't understand why that we're getting involved in another 925 feet project to serve a private developer. It's really not right, and it's something with ARPA. I don't think ARPA funding is designed to be used in a private project. I know you appreciate the work, but the thing is, Ron.
Please don't put words in my mouth.
okay, but Ron, the thing is this, that ARPA money is for the people here. And we have got to spend the ARPA money conservatively because we have other projects in the town as well.
Right.
So why would, and I don't blame the developer for wanting to get water. Why can't the developer go over to Mason Street and connect on?
I guess my question is, who's the developer? These are just all individual lots at this point. There's no new stuff.
Right, but we're running a water main,
Okay.
a transmission line through private property.
Well, this is, okay, so I guess, what's the question? Because,
Okay, well, the question is this, take a look at it. Here's Rixon Avenue, okay, and we're cutting onto private property to service a
Correct.
developer. And it's the use of ARPA money, it's not right.
So-
And that's why I'm objecting to it.
So the reason that, and Kevin, please correct me if I'm wrong, okay? because I don't wanna put words in your mouth.
No, I was waiting until it was done.
So,
that I could
Vern,
explain
here.
to-
so you're correct. Originally, we were looking at Rickson Avenue. That was the project. I still consider this all one project.
It is.
You know, I'm not charging you more because I got more pipe, but one of the things that arose was that, you know, the person here, Mr. Trombley, Corey, I think, I always get his name, offered to basically put the water line in, if he could get it run over, of course, to serve his, I'm gonna call it the family properties over there. And so that's where this design evolved from, that basically this, the town, my understanding was the town would buy the materials, he puts them in. I'm just telling you what my understanding is. And that's a pretty good deal. in my
Okay,
opinion, but-
in your opinion, Ron, with all respect to you, it could be a good deal. I haven't seen anything in writing. I haven't seen a thing in writing. The only thing that I saw was your initial takeoff right here
Okay.
on Rickson Avenue only. And then here, a month ago, I come in here and all of a sudden you've got this big, huge map and it's showing not only Rickson Avenue, but all of a sudden we're going into Trombley Development. And,
Okay, so you covered that, so I'm gonna interject a little bit.
well, let me just,
Go ahead.
one more thing. Who authorized you to draw that map? Who gave you the authority to draw that map in a private subdivision?
So this was developed, sitting with Kevin and talking with Mr. Wait, you gotta let me answer the question if you're gonna ask one. No,
I'm on the water board. No one ever
you're not.
told me.
Reggie, I'd like to answer your question, but I'm
ahead.
not gonna answer your questions if I can't finish my answer. I think that's only fair.
Can you flip that around to the camera right there?
In a minute.
Okay.
So I'll leave it here. I mean, you can take photos, whatever you want to do with it. It's public information. So this was a design developed based on conversations with supervisor, which is fine. You know, it happens all the time. It's not cast in stone. This is a design that the town board has to approve. Right. I mean, it has nothing to do with me. It has everything to do with what the town board approves. And if it makes sense to the town board to have somebody install it to save money, then fine, then build it. If you don't want to build it, don't build it, just build the part down Rickson Avenue, that's all. You know, so, I mean, it's not cast in stone, it's up to everybody.
Okay, so, again, we were looking at getting water down Rickson Ave.
Right.
As far as an agreement, until we have engineering and have everything set, there is no way to write a memorandum of understanding of what you're asking for the Trombleys to go forward with it. Everything verbally that I discussed at the work sessions and at the town board meetings, as we went through with this, it was brought to my attention through a couple of the residents that live up there that Mr. Trombley was willing at one time to install the water line and put it in if he could get water to his properties. I brought that back to the work sessions, I brought that back to the board. And we only moved forward with this after those discussions. This is what we've been working on for probably the last year of this project, is the loop system, which is recommended by the health department today. A dead end system is not recommended by the health department today. And it is my understanding that the cost savings of the Trombleys doing the work to put the water lines in, including on their property, which will be turned over to the water district at the end, which would be an agreement that they have to sign to move forward with this, with then an easement to allow for that, and then be turned over to the Marshall Water District after, is gonna be substantial, probably about, 2/3 of the cost of the project. So, it's not like this hasn't been done. It's very rarely that you have the opportunity that somebody would volunteer their services to do that for the town, because most of them wanna get paid. It's gonna be expensive for him to do. But, I'm gonna guess that he could probably drill his own line right to the water line if we allowed him to hook it in and do it a lot cheaper than what he's gonna do here. to offset the cost of the Rixon Ave and that loop to service their 3 homes. Those are residential homes. They're all family homes. It's my understanding it's his father, him, and his brother that live up there. They're all residents. It's not like they're developing that property. In order to get water to those homes, he was willing to do in-kind service work, which, again, I am being told is gonna save probably tens of thousands of dollars in the total overall cost of the project. It makes the water system better, because again, when we were down talking to Brian Davies and John Canoza at the Cook County Health Department, they said these are the systems they like to see. We can put in a deadhead system.
Right.
They don't like to see them.
But just to that point, so, to your point, so if, this is the easement part, you know, if this isn't constructed, fine, you're just gonna, you build this piece here. You know, put it out to bid, put it in.
But Ron, I mean, in reality, if we did just Rixon Avenue, according to your original specs right here, why couldn't the Trombleys just simply connect on to the end of Rixon and of course clear it with an agreement? Why are we being dragged sort of in a way? We'd be violating ARPA rules by doing this.
No, I think you will be.
No, well, here we go.
Well, depends on.
There's some rules for ARPA.
There are, I
Ron.
understand.
There are, and there's certain, yeah, for you guys, sure.
Whoops.
Well, okay, sorry,
Not doing cards.
okay. And,
Okay.
oh,
Yeah.
there we go.
Listen, I mean, as far as the design, you can build it what you want of this. This is gonna be an economic decision. You're either gonna, if you're, let's assume Richmond Avenue is gonna get constructed. You're gonna do that, put it out to bid, and be
Of
done,
course.
right? My opinion, you're gonna spend more money doing that than if you were to just buy the materials and had that put it all in.
Okay.
And then you pick up all these repairs once you put them in the
Okay,
district.
Ron, have you conducted a material takeoff
I have not.
like this, for this one, like you did over there?
Okay.
This billing right here, material only, 44,800 for Rixon Avenue. That's right to the end where you are, down there. This.
I live there.
Yeah, this includes a fire hydrant. The fire hydrants now are around $9,000 with everything that goes with a fire hydrant.
Installed.
Right, around $9,000, 10,000.
Okay.
So why can't we just do Rixon Avenue and then certainly work with Mr. Trombley, certainly, to have them tag on to the end of Rixon and they can bring their water line and service their property. And we can let Rixon Avenue out to bid, and they certainly can bid on it, by all means.
But,
They
That's
can
a
bid on
decision
that
of
if
the
they want to
board.
bid
Right.
on it.
but does it make any sense to have to put it out to bid and have all the construction costs that would be involved with the Rixon Ave street itself, when those go away, if Mr. Trombley gets it right off the bat with the engineering? You're gonna double everything. Because like I said, if you bring that in, you're gonna have to extend the district at some point in time anyways. So there'd be costs involved with re-extending the district. You're gonna be doing everything twice. You're gonna be doing engineering twice, because God knows what'll change by the time we get to it. I just don't see where the cost effective savings are in that, as long as he's willing to put it in for free. I'm only one on this board, but it does no justice to me to do that. To do a project twice when you can get it done once, and the guy's willing to do all the work
Now, is he,
for nothing.
is Mr. Trombley also doing Rixon Avenue?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's doing it all.
Oh, that's what
We're
I'm
not
saying.
gonna have to hire anybody, put anything out for bid, he's,
Just materials, okay?
Yes,
Yeah, that's
material.
understandable. Next question I have, I'm sorry, Kevin, if you're not done.
See what I mean?
Are you
It's,
done?
no, go ahead.
No, I only have one other question.
Yes,
What is the approximate, I know you can't give me to the penny, what is the approximate cost it's going to cost us for the materials to do the Trombley?
I wouldn't even dare to do that right now. I'd have to
Okay,
go
no,
back.
that's
and-
understandable, that's why I'm
yeah,
asking.
I mean, things are changing so fast.
I think they're on hold beds for, if you're lucky, 15 to 30 days, aren't they? Somewhere around there?
I'm sorry.
I said most of the bids are being held for about 15 to 30 days
Well,
right now
if you
because
do a
of the
public
volatility
bid,
of the
it'll help,
market.
oh, material wise.
Yeah,
Well, so we just did, Blackbrook, they did their own water main installation for part of their job. The quotes were basically good for a week.
we,
Wow.
That was
Really
it.
changed, eh?
That was terrible. It might be different now, I'm not, you know, but when you go to a public bid, they gotta hold their bids for 30 days, so what's
Right.
happening
This
is
is 21.
contractors are guessing.
that was when we first started this project, before we got this far.
Yeah,
into
this
it.
is 21, this isn't really.
Well, that wasn't even
Right.
based on
Right.
that was just
But-
based on a rough.
But Ron and Vern, that was a good point that you brought up about if we could solicit from you, Ron, a material list, an estimate on what it's gonna cost us to do Trombley material-wise. Because this right here was plastic pipe to serve Rixon, but I believe we're jumping up to ductile iron pipe, right, Ron? And is that CL
Oh,
52?
you know what? That does say ductile. We'll probably, well, that's probably gonna have to,
Yeah, and
I would bid it both ways, quite frankly, but ductile
You see what
or
I mean?
PVC, yes,
yeah.
I do. It depends
No,
on specific.
I agree with you there, Reg.
Yeah.
Right.
That's the same thing with the Morseville Water Project. We're gonna at that time figure out what is more cost
Sure.
effective
Yeah.
and what
We just
has
bid
the
it, you bid
same
it both
amount
ways.
of
That's all, that's what we're doing
you know, sustainability for the years to come.
Right.
We're looking at putting water systems in that are gonna last 100 years. You know, and that's what the thing is. You gotta look at, if you're gonna put a water system in, you don't want it to last 25 years and spend all that money.
So,
You might as well
I mean,
spend the money to make it last. And I agree that, I don't know what the cost of, plastic, I thought
yeah,
PVC
I
is
have to
right
go
now.
back and look. But just to give you an
It's
idea,
volatile.
and
But-
of course, this is a very small job, so it's
Yeah.
not necessarily a comparison, apples to apples comparison to give you.
Right.
So, we're doing another job down in Skodak. It's like 25,000 feet of pipe. They want us to look at what's available and cost. So they're actually bidding that job with HDPE, cause that's easier to get hands on, right, so they build it in
Available.
time. And, C900 pipe, which is the plastic pipe. And just do ductile out the window, cause ductile is 30 weeks away to get it, you know.
Right.
So if you're bidding jobs, I mean, you have those flexibilities you can incorporate into it. Unless, of course, you know, some towns say, no, I don't care, I want ductile, or I want plastic, or I want, you know, whatever.
And at the end of the day, I mean, even though this is kinda, we went from our written on a napkin to a preliminary plan to, this is probably what we hope we can get accomplished. Pipe size, as far as the type of pipe that we put in, could be changed at any time with that, and that's not really a cost factor at this time for the engineering, for you to change PVC.
Oh, no,
to-
I would just add, or,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
C900 DR, I think it's 18.
And it depends on what
So
we
you
bid
either
it out. I mean, your advice to me was that we don't bid it out till we're ready to bid it out and then see what the market is at that time and find
Right.
out what one's cheaper and what one's available.
Because if you're just doing the material bid,
Correct.
you're absolutely right, they're not gonna, they're only gonna give you so long to pull the trigger on a purchase.
And we haven't even talked about the price of incurring a bid into it. So if we bid out the work, the shovel work, the excavation work,
Right. So,
we'd have to have somebody oversee that,
well,
somebody
don't
propose
forget,
a
my
bid.
contract doesn't include any of that.
That's where I'm getting at. Okay,
Right.
so that again would add cost to this
Right, because it
project.
went from, because this was always envisioned
Probably
as.
20
as
grand
a-
to be safe.
Well, I don't want.
I don't wanna put
I
you
don't
on
like
anything,
throwing
but-
numbers out. you know.
But I'm just saying, the cheapest way all the way around is if
I mean, we had
Mr.
some,
Trombley does
we
it
had
for
some construction observation in our, cost, I think 4 visits during installation, just to kind
make
of.
sure they're keeping up with
Right,
everything.
and of course, testing, we gotta witness the testing and disinfection, because we have to sign on the line for all that, so we do that, so that's already covered. It's basically preparing, the contract books and specs and assistance with bidding and all that good stuff.
For the materials only.
No, if you go out to bid for the construction,
That would be additional cost, so it's not covered.
well, there'll be some additional cost, I mean, I don't mind helping you put together a material list, and that's.
Hey, Ron,
Right.
are you done? Okay.
No, just
Okay.
asking questions
In
like
terms of soil contamination on Rexon Avenue, I met with Gary Drawlett this morning, and there's 2 building lots on Rexon across from you, and they're owned by a company in Texas now.
That's down here.
Those 2.
That's down here.
Yeah, lot number 7 and 8, Ron. Number 7
Yeah,
and
if I
8.
recall, the lot numbers are on
Right.
here, but I
Now,
think I know where you mean.
Our assessor told me this morning that the company never paid taxes on these lots. The county took the property back. However, because they're contaminated they were on that Superfund cleanup list through that operation at the end of Rexon. The county didn't want to deal with those lots. And they ended up just simply, Gary told me today, the value of them is 0. There's no assessment on those lots whatsoever. And it's a huge liability because, as you know, it's nothing but junk cars and more contaminated soil. And Mr. Dona had filed a complaint, and nothing, I don't believe, to date has happened. But my concern, Ron, contaminated soil.
Okay.
Shouldn't we have that soil tested before we think about even going forward on this project?
You can.
Because that contaminated soil issue, from what I've heard, I'm not sure you'd know a lot more than I would about it. What do you do with it? Buffalo
Basically,
is the
to the
last thing I
side.
heard.
No, it depends
No.
on what, it depends on what.
Depends on what it is, huh?
What it is.
Yeah.
Correct. So, for the fuel oil thing, it's not that big a deal anymore, because there's ways to handle that.
Really?
Right, but it's still the cost. So back to your question though, testing. You can do that. You can poke a couple holes in the ground.
It's
see
sort
what
of
you got.
concerning in a way. It could be
Yeah.
concerning, I
The other,
think.
the other option is, if you wanna, what am I trying to say? I mean, so what happens, and we talked a little bit about this on Friday, right, with the health
Yes,
department.
yes.
If you run across something, fine, you gotta set it aside. You might have to bring in some new material, obviously you're not gonna have it, put it back. And then, yeah, it has to get disposed of. But you can do testing if you wanted to. Now, there's no guarantee you're testing in the right spot either, though. I mean, that's the other thing you run into, just.
And it's my understanding that unless they have some reason to do that ahead of time, it's not normal policy to go ahead and.
Not usually, but I mean,
Test,
to Reg's point, if somebody wanted to dig a test pit down there and see what it
Ron,
smells.
it's on the Superfund cleanup list, that property. I mean,
Yeah, but is
right
that
near
property,
there.
is
But
that
is that-
property where the road is?
No, it's in the
Or the
back.
I think that, no, I think it's here. Let me see, the gentleman's, this is the last, home, so I'm assuming it's the 2 properties
No, they're sort of in the middle.
over here.
Yep.
So they're more
Lot-
opposite the garage.
Lot 7 and 8, Ron.
I'm sorry, Rich.
Oh, you don't have
I
that
the
one, I
numbers
do
on
here.
But
They're
just
right
down
in
to
the middle,
garage.
right here. And that company out of Austin, Texas owns that property.
Right here. Probably these 2 parcels.
Yeah, 7 and 8.
Yeah, it looks like these 2, kind of across from the garage. Yeah, there's the garage right
They're 100 by 150, those lots are.
there. So there you go.
But isn't the pipe going on the opposite side of that,
Yeah,
the property on the opposite
right.
side?
So the other question is, have the wells protected anything?
So there's a
Drinking water
PFOA
well.
issue up there,
You-
that
no,
we
no,
know of
but,
at least one.
You know, if you had significant fuel oil contamination or any contamination,
smell it in the
something would
water.
be showing up in the wells.
Yep.
There's one of the 4 wells right now with an extremely high PFOA level. As high or higher than some of the sand road problem that we're dealing with. There's
Okay.
one of the 4.
Right.
And,
The PFOA isn't considered I don't want to say, it is a contaminant.
you
But
have
for-
to look at the level.
But for
of it.
excavation purposes, it's
About
not.
20. Or no,
On that one was?
last day I tested, it was around 20, which
Was it?
was good on the old certification because your PFOAS and PFOS
It
used to
changed.
be 70 parts per
Yeah.
trillion.
Yeah.
Now it's 10 parts per
Right.
trillion. So that one
And
tested,
then-
the last time they tested it was at 20 parts per trillion. They wanted to do a retest of it.
Yeah.
I contacted the resident that's living there and he said, I already had it tested a year ago, and he goes, I'm not interested. I said, we'll do it for free,
Yeah.
and he goes, I'm not interested in having my water tested.
Right.
So
There's
because Ryan was gonna
Yeah, but
send
that's
some guys
really
up
a
to
health
do it.
department issue at
Yeah.
this point.
So, I mean, other than going through, because he's a tenant, going through the landowner and having them okay it,
Right.
that would be another way to.
Yeah, yeah.
But to answer your question, no, I haven't heard any, and I know 2 of them that have had their water tested, and that's what it tested for Pseudomonas, and it tested for PFOA. So, and it's got a really high iron content.
Yeah.
You live up there.
Yeah, I had my well tested too, and it's just, I don't know what to say about this place. Have you been up Rickson Avenue lately?
Mm-hmm.
You see that garbage that Junior and Bonnie's got out there?
Yep, it's gonna be addressed, yep.
You know, when are you gonna stop being his friend and going up there and telling him to get it cleaned up?
Yeah, and I've been up there, and the deputy supervisor's been up there, and each time we went, he said he was going to clean it up, and it hasn't happened. So
It's not gonna happen.
well, it will, now that, again, we're looking at moving forward, and I actually need to clean that area up, regardless of the people that live up there. That will be handled by codes. Right now, I'm gonna have to get one of the other townships to come in and do that for me.
I need to have clean water in my home.
I agree.
You should see, I pour water in my dog's dish. The next day I come back and the dog dish was white when I put the water in it. And when I go and put more water and it's brown.
Yeah, the iron.
You know, and it's
Yeah, yeah,
greasy and, you know, but I don't know, I live on Richardson, I have to deal with Junior, I have to deal with Bonnie every day. I watch them drag cars up and down the road, parts falling off in them, oil leaking all over the place, and they don't clean it up. I already had the environmental guy, Mr. Malone,
Yep, from DC.
a couple of years ago, find the hell out of him once,
Yeah, I know Mr. Malone. Yep.
because I sicked it on him. But,
But yeah, that's being addressed. And again, there's more, I understand your plight on both of these.
because I counted
But I was more
30 cars
interested in-
today out there. 30. Lined up on one side of the road, and you come back this way, and there's 30 cars there. Plus tow trucks that's sitting there doing nothing. Plus what's in Bonnie's yard. She's got 2 hot tubs up there. And I guess he wants people to come there and have a bath there or something.
But anyways, getting back to the water though, I mean,
You know, how you gonna
everybody
put
that I've talked to up there wants us to put water in.
Yeah. You gotta clean the mess up before you can put the water in.
I agree 100%, and that's another issue that will be resolved.
I'm not trying to be hard.
I know
really
you're
ain't.
not. And
I-
I spoke
I've
to
been
you
there.
numerous times.
I've been there over almost 10 years now.
So what we're working on here tonight is trying to feasibly move forward with what direction, whether or not
Yeah,
we
'cause
go
my
forward with the
well's right
project
next
that it
to it
is
where
right
you
here,
brings cars.
and that there is a
You're right
need.
out by the road, you're well.
Huh?
Your well's right out by the road, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, just so everybody knows, that's right there. This is his trailer.
I'm on 22 Rickson.
Yep, you're at the very end, your last one, right?
Right.
Yep.
And
There's
he's
the well.
got that gate there. And by the way, that gate is on my property, where on town property. Because when Bill LeCount was here, he said that he had to be 3 feet off pin.
Alright, and from what I understand, could be wrong, but what I was told was the town owns no property up there anymore. That Bonnie now owns all of those lots up there. So, I don't believe we own any property up there,
Just the road right away.
just the road right away.
Well, he's on the roadway.
And like I said, that's an issue that will be addressed. And go ahead, I know you've been waiting for quite a while.
If we go back to the single line, will we still be able to put hydrants and give them fire protection in there, or do we
Yeah.
lose that option?
No, you'd still want the hydrants, multiple reasons, fire protection, flushing.
Mhm.
Plus, it's required, on a municipal line anyway, so every 600 feet, you're gonna provide fire protection.
What you end up with is if, with a dead end line, is you don't get the fire flow from both directions, first of all. And you don't get the chlorine pulled through the system you would with the sanitary chlorine. Through the system.
Right, with this,
You would
when
a
it's
loop
looped
system.
around, right, there's not
If
a
it's a
dead
dead
end,
end.
so everybody's drawing the water,
Mhm.
right? So if you take off all this part in the shaded area, there's, well, how many users do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 users, so it's not too bad, but the point is, you're not getting a lot of use off the end, right? And so you have to worry about your chlorine residuals. So if they do get too low, you basically just gotta flush the hydrant to break through.
One last question before I'll leave you guys alone. Honestly. When you put the water down there, are we gonna pay for it to be hooked up to our property, or is that included?
That's a very good question. So the project only pays to put in the water line, and I'm gonna call the water service lateral up to your property line. From there on, it's each property owner's responsibility to connect it to their building.
Well, I better get a gopher because I can't afford to dig it.
Well, fortunately for you though, you've got a well right there. You should be able to pick up that line. Yours might be really cheap.
Well, can I tie in from my well, my well
If the
line?
materials are,
And
Long enough, well, you could add a,
well, my point is, if assuming the material's the right material, I'm not sure what it's made of, but you can disconnect that from your well, right? You have to disconnect it, can't be connected to the public system, and connect onto that lateral that's gonna be left, proper fittings. I mean, there'll be rules and regs, of course, gotta have rules and regs for everything, but.
basically, I
it's
can't.
black pipe, whatever it is.
Oh, it's just black pipe? Yeah, I don't know, I think there's standards.
Being a mobile home, unfortunately, he would need a meter pit and a meter.
Probably need a meter pit.
Because
meter
town of
rod.
Plattsburgh rules dictate that, just like Macy Lane, same thing. Town of Plattsburgh won't hook up, they need meters and
If they want meters, but Macy Lane didn't have any trailers, right?
Yeah.
But no,
Macy Lane has meters.
We got meters.
not trailers.
Oh, no.
No.
So
no,
some
no,
trailers,
no.
depending on the trailer, because I've been through
Right,
meter installation
yeah.
projects, some trailers you can fit them in, some you can't, and if that's the case, it's a very good point, then a meter pit would have to go in. And so, that's
So
a question of who's
so
gonna pay
I
for
mean,
that.
I still be using my reservoir tank then?
No,
No.
No.
you'll have town
Discontinue
pressure.
that too?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, because you'll have enough pressure coming off the main at that point, you won't.
Right,
Right.
If I got better pressure than I got now.
yeah,
Right.
well, yeah.
The water doesn't turn brown.
Ron, on your original contract, the original one,
Yeah.
you had mentioned something about $900 for an easement fee.
Right, so that's right.
What is that for?
So that's for preparing the easement maps and descriptions for any easements
For
that might
each-
be
for
required.
each homeowner?
Not for each homeowner, but for each easement. So here, in this case, for this project, there's gonna be, well, actually, how many is it?
3.
No, it's 1,
One.
2,
Is that on his or? is it
3,
back?
4. So there's actually 2 on Trombley's property,
Yeah,
And then there's one through, and I'm sorry, I don't know the owner's names off.
okay.
One here and then one here, actually next to this gentleman's trailer,
Yes.
on the other lot. The
So
lot
that's
next-
$900 each.
Yes.
Who would pay that? Can ARPA pay that?
Well, I say the town will pay that, would pay that, and then how you fund it, yeah, you can use ARPA money for that. If you choose to.
But I mean, this ARPA, say if we used ARPA to connect on for meter pits, because we did an income survey on Rixon Avenue.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And
understood.
if they're qualified and we use ARPA to connect them on, for whatever, if
Yeah.
it happens, and we're using ARPA to go through private property to put the main on, and if that in fact happens, if we continue doing it, so be it. But then, when we get to Macy Lane, we're gonna have to be using ARPA, we gotta treat everyone the same way. So if we need to replace laterals on Macy Lane, we should be using ARPA funding for that as well.
So that is a good question that I had to go back and look to see, right? So, you know, at some point you know, I guess this is kind of what you're getting at with Trombley a little bit. Is that,
Absolutely.
does that become a
Ron.
gift to somebody?
It's
right?
ARPA. It's,
No, I understand that, but, so I do not know if you can spend money for that purpose. I'd have to check, Rich, to be honest with you, I just don't know.
But
'Cause we,
let me ask
I've
you
not
this.
run into that.
Is that line, that loop, considered to be part of the main?
Yeah, this would all be considered public and ARPA could pay for that.
That's what I'm saying.
Let me-
When
however,
you talk about
it's
laterals,
ARPA
to me, that means from the street to the home.
The laterals is from the, let's call it the right of way,
Alright,
excuse
to
me,
the home.
to the home. That's private, everything from the main
Correct.
to the property line is part of the
that's my
project.
understanding. Because, to answer your question, that's what I was gonna say, we can pay for everything that we can pay for legally. But I can't work on a private properties lot and replace their main. I think a couple of you guys asked that question for Macy Lane, whether we
So it's
could do.
basically it's that shut off that's in the front
The
yard.
street
So
shut
up
off.
to
Right.
that
To your
point,
house is yours, we
from
don't
that
own it.
shut off in is ours.
But this loop and the main, it's all part of the main, would be the main, and it would be owned by the Marshall Water District. Therefore, that, I don't understand where that would not be covered under ARPA.
No, I don't think that's an ARPA issue, but again, back to Reggie's question, you know, to pay for something on an individual property like
I
a
don't think
meter
you can
pit,
do
I don't know about that. Somebody'd have to look that up.
No, I don't think you could. I think that the way it's written, and my understanding of it, as long as we're just putting the mains in and looping it, that we're
Just wanna
good.
make a note on that.
If we were going to, as far as putting, you know,
Well, I think
whatever
you gotta do
service, call them service lines.
What you
If
do
you
for one, I
wanna
think you
do the
gotta
service
for
line
everything.
from
I think
the
that's
street
what
to their home, that's, the homeowner owns that, so I don't believe that we can do anything with that. It's my understanding. We can't pay for that. Yeah, and nor has anything in any district that I know of paying for anything like that, you know what I mean? Whether it's Mason Lane or Marshall Water, I mean, the girl down here on River Street that wanted water across the road, she paid for all that, you know what I mean? She took care of it. But that's the water line to her home. And
I mean, I
she
hate to
owns
keep
it after.
bringing this and Macy Lane together, but Ron, the reason I'm doing it, this board is committed to Macy Lane, and I wanna make sure there's enough money to do Macy Lane.
Consider it was talked about way before this one was ever
Yeah.
talked about.
And
Yeah.
that,
And
there's no issue. As far as that goes, you're in a lot better shape anyways than they are up there. Because you've already got a water district and you're formed a water district.
Yeah, we did.
You know what I'm saying? This one here is gonna be outside users until we consolidate them into the Marshall Water District. So to get funding for this project, ARPA is about the only way we're gonna do it. You know what I mean? Unless they wanna do what you did and go out on their own and pay for their own system and get their their own bond, you know, and be their own district and vote to do
Yeah,
that.
good water, we
So
get it.
there's a little over $500,000 worth of funding here, and it's got to be funded, allocated by the end of this year. And then we have a following 2 years to actually put it in the ground and use it, no matter where we're going to do it. And I'm not really willing to give up $500,000 back to the federal government. So I don't believe that, you know, with the projects that we got going on right now, that we're gonna run out of funding on any of it. But they tell you,
So, I'm gonna flip over to Macy Lane for a minute, just because I'm not sure. So, I did bring the Macy Lane plans, they are basically set, and Kevin, you'll be getting a, permit application for the Department of Health to review and for them to review.
You got water already, or?
You want
Should I turn that this way?
That's okay,
Oh,
I'll
just-
get up and move.
I can get louder if I need to.
I'll get up and move, I don't care.
Alright, so anyway, so the plans are basically set, and it's pretty much as we discussed, it's basically from the PRV manhole that's in Macy Lane now, if you guys know where that is. Basically extending 8 inch up to the intersection, connecting to the dead end over by the blow off there on the one way.
completing the loop down there too.
Right, it'll finish the loop,
Correct.
you know, so, cause they didn't wanna build the whole thing, I guess, the first time.
Right,
as it
and
turns out.
that connection will go back down to 6 inches to meet the 6 inch in the back there.
Right, but yeah, well, the plastic pipe will stay, but that, you have a 4 inch pipe in there from.
In the middle that we're gonna replace.
Not the meter piece, right, that's what you're gonna replace. So it's pretty
And then we're
straightforward.
gonna add the difference that we're short at the end of that loop to loop it.
Right, so,
But that
you
would
know, you're
go from
thinking
an
as a
8
P,
to
right?
back to a 6, that whole
Right.
back loop would be
Macy Lane's a
6.
P, right,
Right.
so if you're going up Macy Lane from Irish Settlement Road, the bottom part of the P, that's gonna get completed. So we'll just run the 8 over, connect it to the 6 there, and then we have to connect it to the 6 on the, you know, the vertical piece of the P still, you know. And then there'll be hydrant, up in that area too, right near the corner. There'll be a couple hydrants because we need them spaced out, but basically the project, like I said, it's ready to go, really,
Once
just
the health
need-
department signs off.
once the health department signs off. So, you know, I'm just gonna come back to kind of the overall conversation. One way to do this is get it out to bid and see where your bids come in, right? And then,
You'd have a pretty good idea by the footage.
yeah, well, yeah, I mean, I can do a rough take for you if you want, but the best estimates are the ones the contractor gives you when he bids it.
Yeah, I hear you.
You know, cause then you know, and again, I don't wanna use it as an excuse, but the market's so volatile. You know, it's almost,
You're not telling us anything. I mean,
Yeah, I
the
know.
garage was estimated by Barton and Judas to come in about 75,000, and the bid came out 203. The only bid we received, so we didn't award it. You know,
Right.
and hopefully that
but
comes
that's
down.
something you could potentially do here, right? Cause you guys are trying to balance, well, I'm gonna call them competing priorities, right? You know,
Right.
how much do we spend in Rixon versus how much do we, do Mason? I'm just trying to think of a path forward for you, and maybe that's one of the better ways to go.
I mean, throwing this out to you, possibly because Macy Lane was sort of ahead in a sense that we could complete that project on Macy and then throw the rest on Rexon and hope and pray we have enough for both. Because that's another project. Or do you wanna do them both at the same time?
Well, I guess there's a deadline though, right? Kevin? You guys have to obligate to certain projects.
It's gonna be obligated by the end of the year.
Yeah,
You
okay.
can't wait that long or you're not gonna have the money.
And here's the thing, like, I know you always like to do that. You're like, well, we can bring it up again, this and bring it up again. The problem I find is I'm under the gun. We are really under the gun to get this stuff done and to get that ARPA money allocated. It don't have to be spent yet, but it does have to be allocated or you're gonna lose it.
So Trevor, you're working with Nancy, is
And-
Nancy working with you on ARPA?
Nancy
Or
has
Scott?
opened the folders. She's probably gonna need the updated information, this stuff. to
Well, what
put
I
in
was
there.
gonna suggest is, I'll check in the office tomorrow, I will admit I'm not an ARPA expert.
Yeah.
I have people who are, so I don't have to be.
Yeah.
And so, let me check with them, because one of the things is, since we are coming up on a deadline to allocate, the question is, okay, we're gonna allocate, I'm just making up numbers, you got 500,000, we're gonna put 100 to Richmond, put 400 to Macy, right? How much flexibility comes in those numbers once costs are known, right? So if I gotta do some minor modifications, they really wanna know what you're spending the money on. In this case, you're spending on water improvements.
Yeah, which is the full corner box that they started with. Now that we decided to assume a $10 million loss in the town, you could spend it on paving if you wanted to. Not that I'm looking
Right, you
to
spend
dump
it
it all
on
in
everything,
paving,
right,
but
right.
I'm just saying, that opened the Pandora's
Right,
box.
right, for the
to-
lower
to-
amount, lower
for
water
any-
amounts.
Any town expenditure, pretty much.
Yeah. So, again, I'm just trying to see if there's a way to, like a logical path for you guys to make that final determination, you know? Because you're not gonna have all the information you need 100% by the end of the year. Right? I mean, it's just not gonna, you're gonna have to estimate it, and so we can help you do that, but anyway, it's just a suggestion.
So, when you were talking about 125 a foot, like Reggie referred to down at the county, that was installed price though, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
You're not talking about just 125 feet per foot of plastic pipe.
No, that was installed,
That's what I
plus,
thought,
but
yeah.
remember I had said plus. 'Cause
Yeah,
it's
because you
plus
still got the
valves,
street
plus
connections,
hydrants,
yeah.
plus this, plus that,
Right,
you know, and then,
that's just to get the
And
main
then-
unit down.
and then of course you have granular materials if you need them, like bedding and, you know, you certainly
Yeah.
need the pipe bedding, right? Backfill, you might be able to get away with what you have, but there's restoration costs and all those things too. So, that's all adds up.
Yeah.
Skoker, I don't remember his name.
Right.
Did you say there was one or two hydrants on Macy?
Oh, let me,
I know there's one there already at the very beginning.
right,
There's one there.
I'm talking about the new, what
The new
the
section.
new section would be, so let me just count off for you. One. Figures.
Are those still roughly every 600 feet after
They're,
you're done?
yeah, no more than 600 feet, so,
So that'll help with your ISO.
The whole complete section's well over 1,200 feet.
yeah, so it's, I think it's 3, so let me just double check. 1,
But the standard is about every 600 feet.
Yeah.
right,
When you're putting a new line.
right, for fire protection purposes in the line section. So this has 3, so the last one would be, you know, at the intersection. Go to
Where did you come
Where it
back
comes
around?
Yeah,
back
we come
to the
back
loop.
around, that's where that last one will be.
Okay.
Right there, cause then you can go either way.
Yeah, either way around the loop.
Right,
Okay.
Which, like I said, that's a twofold thing because you're gonna get a ISO rating change.
Yeah.
So if you contact your insurance company and tell them now I got a hydrant within 500 feet, a municipal fire hydrant within 500 feet of my house, you get a deduction on that.
right. And that just to talk a little more about Macy Lane, that project is proposed to be all outside the pavement for the most part. You know, obviously we got some pavement sections we have to cross, roads and things, but, you know, so there'll be some disruption to people's front yards, and, you know, as you go along, like the water project would be.
Clip handles, you don't knock them back off.
Oh, geez. So we also push you know, we're gonna cut driveways and things like that, but, for the most part, it's all off the shoulder and, you know, shouldn't be a headache for traffic or anything like that. Except for where, again, at the P, at the intersection of the P, we've got a couple road crossings that need to happen. So that's not too bad. So like I said, we're ready to send this for permitting. We'll send you the form to sign, get it over to the county health department, and then you guys, we have a spec book, obviously, that goes with this for Macy Lane. That was part of, you know, the contract documents. And, once the town board decides scheduling and things like that, put it out to bid.
Yeah, and I'll get with you to see if we can't get a ballpark.
Yeah, I'd be happy to do a ballpark, you know, just to give you an idea how you make.
That way we'll know on the funding side of things that we're staying within our budget.
Yeah, yeah.
Cause I agree with Reg on that, we need to stay within what we're looking at.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and what, you know, it's a push-pull kind of thing.
yeah, cause, I mean, originally we were looking about maybe the high side, 175 over there, so that's probably changed a lot.
That's changed a lot, absolutely. You know, and that could come into play too, I mean, just, I'm not to belabor the point. But, you know, that may come into play with Trudeau, right? I mean, how you handle Rixon, depending on how much money is, like,
Yeah.
say we get the price for.
Yeah,
Mason.
and I'll just leave that alone. But there's some give and take there too that I talked to him about.
Alright, well, that, I mean, you just have to let me know.
Until I get it in writing, I wouldn't dare say it here, but
Yeah, yeah.
there's some money cost savings that he could help out with there too.
Okay, so, you know, back to, you know, so as far as the plan is concerned, I mean, obviously it's not going anywhere until the town board has to approve the plan.
Right.
You know, it's not me. So you just, once that decision's made, you just have to let me know. I'll amend the plans. What I would just do, we talked about this, I think, at our meeting with the health department, I wouldn't necessarily change the plan, I would just create, okay, this is gonna be phase one, and maybe you just do phase one. That way, this other part's still approved if Trudeau wants to do it later.
Trumbull.
Trumbull, geez.
Yeah.
Trudeau, wrong. I got the wrong Canadian. Yeah, sorry, thank you. So it would just be a phase.
I mean, like I said, I talked to him a week ago and he didn't look like he was walking away from it.
Yeah,
So,
no. This is-
you know, it had been a while. It had been about 7-8 months
Yeah.
to get us to this part. So I just wanted to make sure he was still willing to perform the work
Yeah.
and do it in kind service, and he still was. So
Okay.
I don't see how we could get it any cheaper done up there without it getting done for free. You know, the labor getting done for free. So
You
that's
were
a
saying,
big
Rick,
thing.
earlier about the piping. Get an estimate on one type of piping and another pipe. Do you recommend, is there one that's significantly better than the other? Yes, you might pay a little more for it, but
Right.
it's gonna be a lot better piping.
It's a good question, and, you know, I think it's as many engineers there are, you're gonna get as many different opinions, to be honest with you. I mean, for the longest time, PVC was not a proven product, right? Started basically in the 70s. You know, town of I mean, you know, just locally here, town of Plattsburgh wouldn't touch it, you know, we're not gonna do that, not gonna do that. It's come a long way, it's really proven itself. I think that it's perfectly fine. You know, a lot of the selection's also based on what water departments are used to dealing with, right? You know, I'm used to dealing with ductile iron, and you know, I don't want to deal with these saddles for services and things like that. You know, but I mean, so no, I don't think there's any longevity difference. You know, there's a little bit more. You know, you got to put your tracer wires in and your tape over the wire, plastic, right? Because otherwise you can't find it again. Transite, right?
Which adds to the cost.
Nobody used tracer wires, and also hence you can't find your mains half the time. But no, I mean, the details are a little different, you know, so you would probably, like, what I like to do, say for instance with hydrants, I'll use a ductile anchoring tee and a ductile extension on hydrants. But the main line would be plastic.
Okay.
You know, so that's the type of thing that we do, we design with plastic.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any more questions?
Like coming up Macy Lane right now, what type of pipe would you know, Ron, what that is?
That can be, we can bid that either way, I see what
Right
we
now.
put in here.
I was wondering what was existing there now.
Oh, that's a 4-inch transite, I believe.
Okay.
According to all the record drawings
Yeah.
I could find.
It was
4-inch
supposed to be
transite.
6, but
Yeah.
it was lined.
It was supposed to be six, the approved one was six.
It was a
Yeah,
field change.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, right.
Way before my
And it was
time.
supposed to have been a completed loop when it was
Yeah.
put in
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, right, right.
Oh, I
That-
got the, I
that-
No, I
got
know, you showed
the, I've got the
it.
paperwork, yeah.
But that's why, like in these projects, we have oversight by the engineer to make sure that it is done by.
Well, and that was all private, you know, they
Yeah.
did whatever pretty much they wanted to back then.
I'm sorry, did you?
No, I
have-
get, if I remember correct, what you're saying, you got the main line, then you got the line that goes to the shut off. Will the shut offs be checked to see if they're totally open? Cause we've already, the house next to us, when they complained about their water, they came and checked, found out the shut off was half turned off anyways, and they had to replace it. The other thing is, from there into the house is the owner's.
That's correct.
How come the water meters in the house that they had to hook into every one of those houses, the water meter is in the house.
Yeah, that's where they put them.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
so it's in
The
my
basement.
portion of the line,
Town
Yep.
still owns it.
they just own the meter.
They just own a meter.
But yet I'm responsible for that line to the meter,
Yes.
back to the
Yep.
shut off. Okay.
Yep.
I figured you were gonna say it, I just wanna hear
Yeah,
it.
that's okay.
Now, because it's less expensive to put a meter in the basement than it is to put a vault in.
Well, it's,
Yeah.
but it's been like this with meters in houses for, ever since they started putting meters in. I mean,
Concrete thing in the ground with a meter.
It
on
gets
it.
you below the
That meter
4 foot
pad
frost
usually
level.
Plastic now.
So that's
Yeah.
what we're gonna have.
Cause they don't even come in the house, they read it remotely.
Depending on your trailer, how new it is, I think yours is a newer one, and depending on how it's set up and how much room you have underneath there.
I got a lot of room.
It's gotta be heated, they don't want it to freeze.
Yeah, it's gotta be, so underneath, you know, you got that air gap, right, so you got your
Well, I
slab,
got
and then
the-
you gotta make sure it's insulated and all that.
whatever you wanna call it, the skirting,
Yeah,
it's about 2 inches thick.
Right.
And it's way down to the ground, so there's no air getting into it. I haven't
So-
froze yet,
I was just gonna say, as long as you don't have problems with freezing
no.
with your water
But
line.
that's a
All I
decision,
have is problem with the water.
Right,
so, but that's a decision that somebody's got to look at eventually and say, okay, here's,
We recommend
Probably
either
set up.
this one or this one to you, you know what I mean? It's gonna be a recommendation, as part of the project.
any other questions I can answer for you?
I'm
guys?
good.
I'm good, thank you very much.
Okay. Anytime. In fact, I'm glad you finally got to come up here.
I'm glad you finally
Any-
came up, because like I said,
Anytime,
you know.
like I said, it's, particularly in the summers.
Yeah, I
Nothing
hear
wrong with the winter.
ya. Yeah.
Well, I got my camp closed.
Gotta close it sooner or later.
Yeah, he's gotta do it up and back, instead of
so,
staying here
uh,
for the weekend.
I mean, I can leave this here if you want.
Yeah, that'd be
Yeah,
nice
so-
if you could, that way we
Again, these
can,
are still all labeled as preliminary plans.
that's what I was gonna say.
Even though they're pretty close to final, I mean, it's just gonna be.
Yeah, other than, like we were talking about, just, pipe, what type of pipe we use or whatever.
I'll just leave it, tell you what,
Yeah,
I'll give you the big
I'll
check,
send it over
here's a
here.
big check.
I'll send it over there.
He wants to see that one.
Right, it's,
Oh, this is Macy.
yeah, these are out of order, but the whole thing's there.
Show you on that map, you know, I met with Gary. See at the end of Rick's
Yep.
showing, see that little piece right there? It's showing it to belong to the town.
Okay, so you're gonna.
Yeah,
come
and
over
it's
there.
my understanding that when I checked the records, and this came right from Donna, that about 7 years ago.
No, this is Macy Lane right now.
Yeah, but
They
there's my dad.
offered-
Yeah, in Rickton.
I think it was
Okay.
Mason?
offered
Mason.
Bonnie those properties back, so that
I
we
believe
were
this is
paying.
ours.
Oh,
Don't forget that.
Like
actually,
basically, they gave her the property.
that
No,
is
that's
not,
not
that's yours, I
Yeah.
believe. I'm gonna give you that. That was from Rickton, yeah, he wanted me to read that.
That was my
Late evening when
understanding.
everyone's home. it's
That
kinda
was
been
Something's
over
on the way home.
So slow.
Keep me awake.
Yeah.
Donna. But she's been here
Thank you very much.
forever.
Appreciate
You know,
it.
this
Very
one
My
out.
pleasure,
Yeah,
man.
she goes, to my understanding.
Holiday, have a good holiday.
that
You too.
All of those properties were turned, that's what she.
Maybe see you in February.
They gave them all to her, so that we didn't have to. Thanks, I appreciate it.
Any questions that might come up later, give me a call.
Yeah,
I'll be in the
sure.
car for the next 2
And
hours.
I think we're still legal as long as we're all here at the meeting, even if we have somebody zoom in, as long as we put them on the agenda as a guest speaker. We can do a.
Oh, I can do, yeah,
Zoom in,
that,
you know
yeah,
what
I'd
I
be
mean?
happy to do that too.
If we do a Zoom, then it's a big
But you
deal.
know what,
It's a whole
tonight's-
bunch of stuff.
It's so
But
much easier to
my
have a
understanding is
discussion.
that we can have, Petitionees or
Yeah,
like you
yeah.
come in and they'll save you a trip up.
Yeah,
But I do
it
appreciate you
depends on
doing
what
it.
the topic, what it is,
Yellow house.
and then
Yeah.
others what, it's my opinion, it's
I'm not
was
even on the
worth
map.
all the time.
It was. I think everybody was a little bit enlightened by what was
This
going
is
on.
So I
to
wish
go
we
out there
could
doing
think
that.
of that.
So, there was a couple
Yeah.
miscommunications that I had to.
I'll let you guys do everything, the rest of the pile.
Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
I got one
All
more
right.
question.
You bet, yeah.
The dark black line is the new proposed.
That's correct.
Good, okay.
alright, headway.
I'm just looking what my yard would be trashed, or not trashed now.
There you
See,
go.
I got heating tape on my stuff already.
Oh, there you go, okay. See, that's the worst thing with trailers is.
Safe travels, Ron.
This-
If I don't see you, have a good Christmas.
Hey, you know, I'm
Right
sure
here
I'll
is
talk to you.
Norman's house.
Alright, I'm sure.
Have a good night.
You
Okay.
have a good Christmas.
You too.
These all say draft on them, so we don't get confused. Cause none, all of this is still in the drafting stage. But it's pretty close. I might have just gave the names out wrong, but hopefully not. Vern, what one do you got? You got Mikey's?
No, I got Reg.
Give me that one. Just cause I wanna put Mike's in his,
Okay.
box after.
Okay, good.
Otherwise, everybody don't get the same stuff.
Okay.
So basically, his big map, this is it. I wanna make sure you guys all had copies of it. And when you see me ruffling around here, when Ron was here, I had the damn maps for all the Macy Lane too. I must, when I picked the file up, they must have stayed in there. But you still got it for the big map, but I wanted you to go reference it right here. On the Macy, on the Rickson Ave too. I have this same setup for Rickson Ave, so I'll get that all to you.
Okay.
Oh, that's Rickson Avenue.
That's
Rick-
Rickson, right?
You
I've got Rickson and I've got,
Rickson.
Yeah. You
Yeah,
wanna
they're
see,
both, they're both Rickson.
here, Mike,
I'll
or,
get a copy of them to you.
Mikey.
He said it's public knowledge.
Yeah, oh,
is that,
you know, I've got an
Get a
extra
copy of
copy.
those maps here.
Okay, give it to him. and-
what,
Just the tax map.
the tax map?
Yeah.
because I've got this here, this is
Here, Mike.
the number. Thank you.
Here, Jeff. See, it's just tax map, that's all it is. Is that what you want? Yeah. Yeah. That's all it is.
You're not gonna need that anymore?
No,
Don't worry.
no, I've got another one.
So, Ron, it can explain this much better than I, but basically that's what we're doing, is replacing that 4-inch pipe with the 8. And then we're finishing that P in the backside. This gets into the elevations naturally, because we gotta have that for the county stuff. This thing's ready to go if we agree to it and the county signs off on it, and that's where it will be going next. Because I figured it only made good sense to have the county approve it before we went back and decided whether we wanted it.
Do you know
what
when
I'm
the
saying?
county's gonna sign off on it, or do you-
Uh,
approximately?
The Rickson Ave, if we go the way that one is right now, I believe that's all they need to know is where those other 3 septics are. This one here, it took them, I'd say about 3 weeks to get to the point where they're ready to approve Rickson. There was a couple little things. That was one of the things that, the county wanted to know, was where the septics were. They're gonna wanna know the same thing down here. To make sure that we're not interfering with the septic systems where we're putting water on. The long and the short of it is we're getting there. There's still a lot of work to do, but. And I don't think, there's any question on this plan, as far as the way it's set up and what we're doing down there.
So who is he then, Ron LaBerge or? Is he Ron LaBerge?
Yes. So, the next thing I'll wait to get you guys will be from Ron to get a new ballpark on both projects. From what I understand, or what I knew, we had plenty of funding to do both of those.
I'll tell you what I'd like to see, and I don't even know if it's a possibility or not. I would like to know approximately, and I'm not holding anybody to the total amount, what the pipe is going to approximately cost us to do the Trombley work.
Yeah, and that's what
I mean, I'd like to know that before I'm feeling comfortable to say, all right, do it. Because all of a sudden, if we get hit with a outrageous bill,
right.
is it worth it where we can just go down and dead end it and be done?
Alright, but we'd have to get a contractor
Right.
estimate for straight
Right.
down Rickson.
I'm gonna go out on a limb and say this, that if we don't have the funding to pay for the pipe, you're not gonna have the funding to pay for the pipe and the excavation
Right.
just for even Rickson, because the excavation is the money. It's, from what I'm being told, he's gonna save 2/3 of the cost of the project by doing the excavation work. So that tells me that 1/3 of it was the engineering and the cost of the materials. But I don't do it for a living, so we'll
Could I
get
just
those.
add to what you said, Vern? What I'd kinda like is a soil sample test done on Rickson Avenue, before we proceed actually to seed the soil over there, because that could explode, possibly, I'm using the word possibly, explode the cost of the project.
Well, I think what we should do there, at least, if nothing, is whoever's gonna do the contracting work, find out if they can do it, and it's not a big problem, or if it's a possibility that it's going to be a big problem, or it could be, then I'll agree with you on that too.
Right. But the other thing you gotta look at too is it's normally not done unless you believe you're gonna run into something. Because it's all extra expenditures to the project. And if they find anything, they're gonna stop right there anyways. So if you're excavating or getting rid of the material that's excavated out of the hole, what are you gonna have? 8, 9 shovels full out of a backhoe? You know what I mean? That you're gonna have to haul away. So, is that worth the cost of whatever the drilling is and the study for? I guess I could talk to ADEA and find out, because he's who we usually use here for our soil reeds. He's the one that did it for the splash pad out there and all that stuff. I can check with him and get a cost analysis to see what it would be. And Jim is, either one of them, they're pretty good. Andy will tell you.
Cause I mean,
I
even
think
on
it's
the
worth it, or I
splash,
don't think it's worth
the
it.
splash
for
pad.
spending money.
he even did one for the splash pad, projected splash pad down there.
Well, what he
I
did
did
was,
an analysis, I looked at the report.
yeah, he did the analysis, but because we needed to put a sand filter in to get rid of the water. So he needed to know how the drainage was gonna work and how just like for a septic system. And of course, they do
The old perk test.
they do a perk test, but they also do a geological read of the soil to make sure, hey, you ain't got to truck in 10,000 loads of sand here, to make it work.
Because it's all clay.
Or the opposite, you got all sand, and then you gotta put the clay in to hold it back a little bit so it don't go too fast. But those,
And just a couple of real quick issues relative to Rickson is this. There's a local law for the Morrisonville Water District that the people on Rickson, and if we went with the Trombley project, would have to be aware of this local law, which sets out their payment for being out-of-district users. And the local law, here's a copy of it actually, of that local law. And I mean, it's something that could be relevant.
well,
To let them know is what I mean.
basically, it's gonna be up to that would be up to the board. They're gonna be out of district users. So, we are gonna have to get them water, we are gonna have to approve a local law to have out of district users on it. in agreements, if we do the Rixon Ave, and that's what we're trying to complete here, they would be consolidated into the Marshall Water
Yeah.
District. But in the interim, because they're not in a district, and we're kinda creating a
Sure.
district, the easiest fix for it, rather than doing a Rixon Ave water district and then consolidate, which is gonna cost us more money, cause then we gotta have that all done by somebody like Bill Ryan or somebody that does water districts. The easiest way to go about it is exactly that, and that's what the discussion was.
There's actually the requirement right here for a public hearing on that. And that's it, that's all I have, Kevin.
Yeah.
Mm.
But that's the only way you could do it. Feasibly make it work. Because otherwise you're gonna spend, 15, 20,000, 30,000 on creating a water district. And just delete the water district and then have them consolidated in anyways.
Kevin, at what point should we have a public hearing? Would you say? Like for Rixon and the other up there?
Well, even the agreements, what I have preliminarily done is agreements that the residents will sign. If you want the water line up there, you'll sign an agreement saying that you understand that we're putting in a water line for the residents of Richland Avenue, that you will be an out-of-district user until such time as we can consolidate you into the Morrisville Water District. And that makes the backside of it much easier than when we consolidate them in, the paperwork's already done. You don't know that going into it before we put a shovel in the ground, you know what I'm saying? I guess to answer your question, I can't really go to his house and tell him to sign this without showing him exactly what we're gonna do. So the first part of that is getting a approved engineering that the county is agreeable with, this board's agreeable with, and at that time, that's when I would go up there to get the agreements.
And I really agree with you on that, Kevin, but if we could we get to Rixon Avenue, we break it up into 2 phases. Do Rixon Avenue first, then we got enough money left over, we'll go over and do Trombley, possibly.
I know you keep saying that, Reg, but we'll get some numbers together.
Okay, that's good.
And what I'm telling you is, from what
Yeah.
I'm being told, it's gonna cost 2/3 more construction costs to the project.
Okay, we'll look at the numbers, great.
Without
Okay.
them doing it. Even with us paying for the pipe and him doing all the work for everything, it's still 2/3 less than,
See, I didn't know he
hiring-
was doing all the work for everything. until
well,
he
yeah,
did.
neither did
That
Mr.
makes a
Coolidge,
big
you know,
difference.
when
I
I
mean,
talked to him, and then
That's a
when,
lot of machine man hours
that's why he said,
we
he
ain't
goes,
gotta
I'm
pay
booked
for.
up
It's
until
gonna save us a
June,
lot of
when I
money.
talked to him the other day, and I wanted to make sure he was still good. And he goes, I will tell you this, I'm booked up until June of next year before I could start working on that project. And I said, okay. I mean,
How long does he figure to be completed?
I can ask him now. I don't install water lines that size, so I don't know what it would take him, how long it would take him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
Um,
really, it's not a big deal, but I would like to know, you know, where maybe we can check with other contractors and, oh no, well, we can do it, you know, for X number of dollars and have it done by whenever.
I would say this, that in the agreement, that we should probably put a timeline.
Yes.
I mean, most state contracts say,
Start.
you get it done within this time, they give bonuses if you get done early, but you just want it done within this time. I wouldn't leave it open-ended that he works on it on his
When he's free time.
leisure, yeah,
Yeah.
and
No, me
that
neither.
we're doing this
No,
for the
when-
next 4
When
years.
his starting point comes,
Yeah.
he starts
No, I
and
agree
he
with you.
continues. Not
We gotta have some
Take 2
kind
weeks
of,
off because he's gotta go.
yeah.
So
Do
is
3
Trombley
driveways.
gonna do both sides, Richard and his, or?
Right, and I don't have it in writing, okay? This is all verbally. So until I have it in writing, that's why I'm hesitant to go up to your house or Bonnie's or to Charlotte's and say, okay, I need you to sign this because this is what we're doing. Because I can't tell them we're doing that until I have all the paper in front of me. but the first part of it is what we're doing right now, the engineering. And the preliminary engineering could
What I
change,
heard
like,
was that
like I
he
said.
was just wanting to do his side and hell with us.
No.
No,
No, I never heard that.
That's what's coming from Junior.
No, that's wrong.
No.
Junior's not right there.
Yeah.
no,
You heard the man tonight,
No.
standing here.
The opposite way.
He's
if
doing the
more.
whole thing.
yeah, no, he's willing to, at this time.
Was that Mr. Barco?
No,
No, that's the guy that
Engineering.
does all the plans, the engineer.
Oh, okay. Cause I never met those people behind me, so
No,
I don't know what they look like, you know?
but like I say, once I get all the agreements hammered out and everything's good, and this board is agreeable to it, that's when I'll go up and see you guys, and then we'll move forward even with this. Because there's no sense of doing this even until we know we're going to get the problem. Does that make sense to you?
Mhm. Yep.
And that's all I'm doing right now, is getting everything prepared for it, if that makes sense.
See, I can get funding from my, from JCEO to hook me up. I can get, you know, certain avenues for me, but I just want it done.
I know, and I.
I'm not being a
I
pain in
won't
the ass,
quote,
but,
I shouldn't quote some of the people that have been down here from up there, and
but I can't believe I'm the only one from Rixon Avenue here, sitting here.
Yeah.
You know, if they were griping because they haven't got no good water, and they're,
Well, you're the only one tonight, but they've been down here. They've been to my office, yes.
but,
Not all of them, but most of them.
but anyways, I have to run, cause I'm running out of oxygen.
Oh, well, don't do that.
One other question, the other day, when they had that little snowstorm,
Yep,
we had a snowplow come down my Rixon Avenue.
yep.
That poor fella had to back all the way from Rixon Avenue, all the way back to Mason Street again. He couldn't turn around.
Yep. So that goes back to the other issue. And that's sitting on the code enforcement desk right now, so that's gonna be taken care of.
I feel bad for that guy, you know? He comes down and plows out and he can't turn around.
Yep. No,
But anyways.
no, I think we've given sufficient time. All summer,
We'll see how things go. We'll see.
so.
You know, you might even see me out by Bonnie's there having one of those hot tubs.
Well, thanks for coming down tonight.
Yeah,
I
she's
appreciate it.
got two of them out there. Plus 5 cars in front, 2 cars behind there, another van behind her trailer, plus 3 flatbeds on the other side.
Yeah. No, I've been up there several times.
It's a junkyard.
Okay,
That's
so
what it is. It's a
moving
junkyard.
along.
Thank you.
Have a good
Thank
night.
you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you too.
see ya. So, moving along, I went up and checked the garage floor. There was a couple of issues with that. They seem to have fixed them.
Are they done completely?
I haven't heard from Josh yet. Josh wanted to get a hold of me after he was done, and I went up and looked at it. And he's gonna contact me. I know he's busy as everybody else, but he's supposed to contact me and so we can know, or he can know whether we're satisfied with the work that he did.
Are you, Mike?
Pretty satisfied. Of course, we've got a bad door bottom that it's being ordered now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, well, the center door, that's door number 2, and that, but the other, number 1 is pretty much perfect. I've got new seals. The trouble is, you know, the seal's been worn out for so many years, you know, when the door closes.
Yeah.
I had one installed on door number 3, and that took, it's closed up now. Yes, they had to do a little bit of grinding, where they had some high spots, and then they stopped. But it is sealed real well.
Yeah, they add a little down pressure to the door to help
Yeah.
it squash the gasket a little bit more.
I don't really like to see the added down pressure of the door,
Right,
but, I mean, that's what it's there for, to seal it.
right. And if it, I don't wanna speak for you, but when you spoke to him, he did say that if he needed to, he'd come back in the spring and
If,
You can
if,
grind a
yeah,
little bit more and.
you know,
and
whatever
moderate it.
happens, but
He just had, so, and what door is that, the middle one? Is that 3?
no, door number 2 is the
Two,
middle
that's
one.
2
the-
there?
The
I
new
don't know
panel
what
for it.
you name your door. Put numbers on them for me on the inside.
There is.
Alright, so, anyways, that one was perfect, I mean, dead perfect.
That'd be number
the-
1 where you come in.
Okay, the next 2 over,
Yeah.
if you're looking out towards the road, the next 2 over, that middle one was
Yeah.
terrible. And the end one, there was still a area there that still had daylight underneath it. After they got done re-leveling everything and grinding it did come out good. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I was surprised when I got up there. I was like,
I
it's a good thing the cement was,
Now, my
hadn't
next
been cured
question
long.
is this, was this the temporary fix quote we wanted to do?
Yeah,
Because Mr. Luer was saying that that could also be a permanent
It could be.
fix.
and that
it is
depends
pretty
on,
much a permanent as
Yes.
far as I'm concerned.
and that depends on who takes the bid.
You know,
Because the problem with it, and we can bid it that way. We can change it. They won't warranty any of that. Whoever takes the bid on doing the rest of the flooring in there and the drainage, and eventually the oil water separator, which will be set with the drainage to be received by an oil water separator. Mike and I talked about that the other day and putting the tank outside. That way it doesn't take up all this room inside.
Yeah, I mean, we're-
the garage.
we're pretty well cramped. I
Um,
don't think so, but man, them tandems are,
we talked about
you know,
putting just the tank in versus the filtration system. The filtration system is more right off the bat, but it's cost savings because your water filters out into a leach at the end, just like your septic, and you never have to do anything. If we put in just the oil water separator, it holds about 1,000, and then you put the external tank, probably holds another, you could put even a 1,500 or whatever you want in there. When that tank fills, you gotta get it pumped. And so depending on who you hire, what septic company you hire to come in and pump it, you're looking at $475 probably to empty that tank every time it's gotta be filled. I'm not quite sure how much water they drip off, but from what Mike was saying, they used to take an hour to squeegee it sometimes in the morning.
oh yeah.
So
Oh,
the problem that I see looking
Easy.
forward is if we're pumping a tank out, say once a month even, that could be some added
Could be
cost.
costly.
If we do the back filtration system where they gotta back flush them, DEC does keep records on that. So you need a log as to when it has been back flushed. There's fines if you don't do it, because they come in and they check your log at least once a year, sometimes twice a year, but at least once a year. It's not hard to do, I mean, if we show you how to do it, I'm pretty sure that they can say, okay, it's, we're looking at the pressures on the gauges, it's time, just like a pool, it's time to back flush it and log it, that's the big thing. Because if you did it and you didn't log it, it didn't get done, it didn't get done, and that's when you end up with the issues with the log and the DC and fine. So I know at the fire station, they didn't wanna worry about that, so they just put it into an outside tank and they get it pumped whenever. Once a year, we usually hire,
Yeah, but the fire station's
company, I
different.
will say.
You could go 3 weeks without a truck being out in the winter.
Oh
Them
yeah.
guys could go every day for 3 weeks
Yeah.
with a truck
yeah,
being out in the winter.
exactly, and then melting
Big
off.
difference.
Oh,
Then we've
and-
got no place to wash them or clean them, so
Yeah.
then they turn to complete rock, so.
So, again, I would recommend that we put the filtration system in with the leach, and then when it's done, in 25 years, you might have to add another line to the leach field, but
Yeah.
other than that, you're in pretty good shape.
Mhm.
But the records will have to be maintained, it's a little bit more money for the filtration system up front, that's all. But it's a much better system, that's the one I like to see.
Do you think Mr. Luer will put a bid in on the other, or is he capable?
I actually, I think he will, I really do.
I mean, 'cause that would be
I've
good.
already gotten to him to hope that he gets up there in
Right.
June or July to do the back parking lot,
There's,
you know, so.
the
We hate to
word
lose
finally
it.
got out, for some reason, I don't know why it didn't when we put it out to bid, cause it was in the paper for 30 days, we had to hold on to it for 30 days. And we only did get the one that first time. But I think through word of mouth now, that we'll get some bids this time, rather than just one. So, like always, I'll make sure on, request for quote that, you know, we can refuse any and all bids as always. That way we always have that option like we did this time. If it gets too crazy with cost. But, we transferred some money over for, out of the general fund this year to take care of that issue up there, so.
Good.
I don't think we'll have a problem with it. And I transferred,
That's
we
really nice to see
transferred
them
enough
like that.
Save on
to
blankets.
take care of it either way. So
Save on
that'll
blankets.
be another,
It's really different.
hopefully not, but another 2 or 3 month, 4 month project, getting all that done, and the engineering is done, so we're ahead of the game on that. We'll rebid it out. If you guys are still good with that, we held off naturally when you wanted us to last fall. But we'll rebid that out probably, I'm thinking around February or March. That way we can get into the bid cycle before all the contractors are tied up for the summer and they're already booking up
Kind of
now.
another thing we
So
better
I don't
start
wanna,
thinking
I don't wanna
about,
wait too late.
before we get told we're gonna do it, is we better start looking into a salt shed pretty soon.
Um,
Because it's gonna get thrown on our lap.
and then we're
It
gonna,
will be done, and it will be done by this time or else.
and
Don't
unfortunately,
those have to be done by the state specifications, so you really don't get a lot of choice, do you?
I don't know,
No,
Mike would
they're,
know more about that than I would. I
they're
don't-
pretty
know,
much
but-
they're nothing like I thought they were gonna be when I seen them. They're basically, they look like a damn,
Overall,
yeah, you remember the bullets we had for the
Yeah,
gymnasiums?
Yeah,
That's all I can picture. I mean,
The bubbles they were called.
yeah, the
Yeah.
sidewalls are solid up to a certain height.
Yeah.
And then it just makes a dome over the top, and
Yeah,
it
it
looks like a blowed up building,
I
but
was at the town
it's
of
tin.
Chazy's today, and I actually
Yeah.
got out and was looking at
I
it.
was like, and I can't believe that these are like 1.2, 1.3 to 2.4, depending how big you want.
But they're big. I mean,
Oh,
that one
yeah.
up there, I mean, I don't know how big you guys gotta go, but that one at town of Chazy's,
From what I
that's big.
from what I understand, that's the
Crew's
standard
got one
now.
too. Crew was one of the first
So
ones.
Yeah.
we're gonna have to. I brought that up
Saranac's even got one.
January of 20, and we looked at it, and I had I think ADEA and was a little bit higher than Laverge was when we got the engineering done for that. I don't even know what it'll cost now because that was 2 years ago. We should have did it then. But yeah, my understanding is the grant is still active. It's down to about 500,000 now. About half
Where
a
would you
million.
put it, Mike? Right where the salt pile is, you think?
Yeah, we'd have to put it, like as you go in, the pile would be here, you'd have to put it on the back side of it. You know, of course, we'll just move that pile into it.
So,
Yeah. That'd be the only good place right now,
That's what I was thinking, man.
cause everything else is pretty well tore up. You know,
all right,
over the years.
because of the holidays, this is gonna go quick. So I just kind of like to know that everybody's on board with me dropping the RFQ out for probably the beginning of February, end of January. I'll contact Barton and Regis because they send it all out for us and do it. It's gonna be probably an expense again. But then they'll classify them and they'll rate them and they'll give us what they think their top choice is, breakdown. The, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever. We didn't have to worry about it last time, we only got one. But, but hopefully that don't happen this time. So, if you guys are good with that, I'm gonna contact them so that we're not behind the 8 ball because the holidays are gonna screw up this month, the rest of this month and the first part of January. You agree?
Okay.
Yep, I'm fine with it.
Alright, so I'll move forward with that garage floor. I guess that brings us. I'll give you copies of these. This is the DASNY, I just got this. And it's all approved, so we got the $125,000 for that splash pad. That project's 100% set.
Perfect.
That only took, counting Rick, 6 years? 5, 6 years? So, yeah, so that 125,000 is ours right now. The last one is the CDBG, which may be able to help that gentleman even with his water. On Rick's and Ave. So the CDBG, which is, that's Reggie's, and that's Burns. So that is the agreement, that's solidified. $250,000 will be spent by the town through the CDBG grant to low to moderate income homes that need improvements. It could be roofs, it could be help with the kitchens, it could be help with a well or water. I know that if he qualifies, they will take care of that service line because they're actually putting a whole well in for somebody under some of this program money. So I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that those people that really need the help up there can get the help with.
Great.
That just fell into our laps to work out perfect. The stars were in alignment. So that could help us with that project there too. Or those residents up there, because we can't. This is the one time we get to help them on their own property. Alright. Okay. So did anybody have any other pertinent subjects they wanted to bring?
Oh, okay, great. Thank you.
Yep, got that this morning, so it's 100% ours. Thanks to Liz, and thanks to Jim from ADEA. They did a ton of work on that project to get that grant approved with me. Other than that,
And I do, Kevin, just very
Yep.
briefly.
no, we're all done.
Richard, I think you mentioned something about the signs for entering the town that we were gonna put up.
Oh, the
The
no
entry-
parking in the wintertime?
Sure.
Yeah.
Did we ever get anywhere, Kevin,
Okay, so
on that? Or-
Waiting for the state on that, aren't we?
what's that?
Waiting for the state on that, aren't we?
Well, we gotta get approval, okay? It's here, I haven't forgot about it. There's so much that I have to do right now. Yeah, we would have to have an agreement with the state on state roads in the town. I'm pretty sure after talking to Carl Weiss that we're pretty good with the county, that they would sign off. But I need it in writing. And then what we would do is introduce a local law. There's multiple, and I brought them up last time, there's multiple ways that you can build this sign. You know, this one's 11 p.m. to 6 a.m., you know, November 1st through April 30th. No parking on the side of the road for plowing reasons. If you do, then they can tow it, and it's at the owner's expense. I've got no problem, you know, working on this, but I'm just trying to catch up with all this. So it's there. Like I told Heather, like what I told her about hers. Like, it's a good idea up there, Pocket Hill. It's just I gotta have the time to work on it, and I can't do it.
In my last item
Yep.
is this.
Uh-huh.
I received a call from a town resident, and he wants to go on record, he asked me to bring it up, that's why I'm bringing it up. His name is Ricky White, and his concern was this. And Howard, it goes back to when we had trouble in the playground, and there was some tree cutting going on there. And he had mentioned at that time, a couple of years ago, about renting a lift to take care of that tree. So he apparently was concerned with the tree situation here where we had a lift to put the Christmas tree lights up. And his concern, I'm just relaying a message, is that the people who are on the lift were not certified to be on the lift. And he was concerned enough, he mentioned it to me, he asked me to bring it up, and I did. So now I brought it up, and
I believe we have an insurance policy. If you read into our insurance policy, anybody that's part of this town is covered,
oh,
aren't they?
okay,
We're, the employees are covered and any volunteers are covered.
Yes.
As
It
far
was
as
brought up.
Because
And
I've done work
And-
for the town before, and I've had to look into insurance, and they said, you are covered.
And, you know, as far as the town insurance, it's no different, like when Amos helped me do it that day. He's not a town employee, he's a volunteer service to do that job for the town. And we have all of our volunteers covered. It doesn't matter if they're in here working on a Christmas project or working
I
on
mean, it's like
food.
when the three of us, I mean, last year the three of us were down on the ice rink.
Yeah.
If one of us would've went upside down, bang, smacked your
You're
head
still
off,
covered.
you're covered.
it was brought up, that's why I brought it up, and
But as far as the
That's
lift
it.
operation, I am aerial certified and I am certified to operate one of those. So, on the record,
No.
I've got the certifications through the fire department. I can run a 110-foot aerial ladder and drive it.
And in terms of code enforcement, have we in our direction of making a move at this point? Have we got a temporary code enforcement officer working right now?
We don't have a temporary code enforcement officer. What we do have is, I talked to the guys over at the town of Plattsburgh.
Yeah.
They have always covered each other. I know you mentioned the town of Prue. I'm gonna see if we can get a hold
Sure.
of him.
Yeah.
In the interim, until we do get a, code enforcement officer appointed, I believe the shared services is still gonna take care. It's not going to be like it is right now, where we're moving things forward. Like the Rickson Ave issue up there and those kind of things. We're not gonna come in here and do that kind of work for us. But, you know, that's asking a bit much of them. But like for inspections, to keep the construction projects going, we got 38 permits out right now that all have inspections that need to be done at certain times. They'll cover that stuff for us, so we're not holding up our residents from building. But yeah, that's not a tenable situation we can hold on for too long. We need to fill that position.
Okay, thanks.
Alright. That's it. The last thing I got is, I did tell you, I didn't show you, Verizon. Geez, am I gonna not say that right before I look at it? T-Mobile. See, I'm glad I corrected myself. T-Mobile on their government unlimited subsidy. It's like $33.62 for the first phone, and then I believe the minimum charge is $10 more for every line we put on them. Are we still looking to move forward with that? Because I'll get some hard quotes, but I don't want to. I got a lot going on, so I don't want to spin my heels, or my
Cell
wheels. Cell phones.
Yes.
I believe that no matter who our code enforcement officer is, that one should be a town. I believe ours should. There's a ton of pictures that I take in the course of doing my duties down here. Even when I talked to her associate Downs that day, she was like, yeah, don't do that on your own phone. She's like, because if it goes to court, you know, from being in jail, then we know. If they subpoena the phone, it's theirs.
It's theirs, and
2,
you
3,
usually
4
don't get
years,
back.
5 years, whenever they get done the court case or whatever. So
What would it be, a 1-year commitment?
I would do it by 1 year. That way, if we get a better rate next year when we look at it, I will look at a couple others just to compare, so that we're not taking the first one. But I mean, $33.62 for government rate is pretty cheap. So if you
About how many
added
phones, Kevin, about how many units would you think is more?
5, 6, 7, right off the bat, I would say.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense to you?
At least.
The 5 board members, I know you're partial to that flip phone, but that thing don't get out anywhere. I
No.
can hardly hear you most of the time, so,
You know,
yeah.
I'm ready, I need an upgrade.
I'll give you
back.
some training on one of those.
Yeah.
How do our
Oh, yeah.
justices get their notification that there's something that's gotta come to the court?
They're probably getting their own phones used, either a personal phone at home or a landline at home. So yeah, if you wanna add those in,
Should be.
we'll do 9. Or
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I'll just do an even 10, that way we can decide. We haven't bought them or purchased the phones or the contract. I wouldn't do that without talking to you first. I'm gonna say it's way under the $4,999.99 I can approve through
Well, you
our
need
procurement
more than
policy,
10,
but,
don't you? You got
um,
four, you got 4 board members.
5.
You got yourself as 5. You got Mike as 6.
Yep.
The 2 justices are 9.
Code enforcer.
Code enforcement is 10. Are you doing the,
Well, did I not get my math right? 5,
Sam?
6, 7, 8, 9. 9.
9. But then what about Sam?
You got Sam.
Sam, you know, Sam and I talk all the time on the phone.
Sam is very busy with it.
So if you're good with that, we'll go with 10, and if we feel like we need more before I sign the contract, they're like 10
what
bucks a
about
line.
Donna?
Per month,
Mhm.
for the year, per month.
Absolutely.
So, you know
I
what I
think
mean?
Donna for sure.
What about
11.
Gary Drillette?
Gary Drollet.
Yeah.
So we
I
both
don't
those
know if Donna will want one, I can ask her. I don't even know if Gary will want one. I will tell you this, talking to him, most of his clients come right down here and see him in the office. He doesn't get a ton of phone calls at home. Donna, on the other hand, if you're gonna do that, you might, I think that most of her stuff is for the court. So if we're gonna do that, you wanna do both court clerks.
How about dog control?
It's up to him. I mean, how much you wanna go with this, but
I mean, yeah, you could go everybody and anybody, but
I
you
can,
gotta stop at a line
Yeah.
someplace too. You
Yeah.
gotta,
But actually,
this
dog
is
control,
dollar bills.
Dog
that keep
control-
Dog control
dog
is
control would be a
24
good one,
hours.
cause if he's gotta take pictures.
document, yeah, I was just gonna
Sure,
say that, dog
documentation.
control would be.
You know what, even if you
Further up on
only
the list.
did, I don't know, I was thinking 2 councilmen of the 4. I don't know,
That-
maybe I'm wrong on that,
That
but
puts the other 2 at a disadvantage though, because they still have their personal phone that would be,
Documents that we fling back and forth, that
Yeah.
could be, and that's the one thing that you gotta understand is once you've written it, it's what they call memorialized. I don't care if it's digital or on paper. So it's admissible in court.
Would it be foilable?
No, not a personal phone.
No, I meant a government phone.
I don't believe so,
No,
but
okay.
I will check into
Just-
that. I don't wanna
Just
tell
a
you,
question, Kevin. So,
I won't tell you wrong information.
yeah.
But I would say probably not.
What was the
I
word you
don't
used, Rick?
know.
foilable.
Somebody would foil it.
A FOIA,
Freedom of Information Act.
yeah, a FOIA.
Somebody wanted information, fill the form out,
Usually,
and I don't know.
usually things like that are matters that are dealt with internally, and there are rules that would have to be, rules that would be added
Say
to
12 and 15.
the bylaws,
Yeah.
not our bylaws, excuse me, our, what is the damn thing called, the workers' book, handbook, excuse me, the workers' handbook. So, we would have to put a section in there on cell phones. No media stuff, no,
Right. Right,
photos
Right,
put on them that weren't approved.
yeah.
So
All
we'll-
government business only.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
Same thing the fire department does. You know what I mean? Because
Oh, they have-
everybody's got cell phones. They got a media policy over there. That way, things aren't getting on that would reflect.
Now,
badly on
speaking of
the-
meetings, how about that concept of remote meetings? Are we leaning at all with that? Like,
You
I
mean
know
as
the
far
town
as
of Black Brook has got, they call it gotomeeting.com.
Yeah.
And like tonight, for example, the engineer could have been on that if we had one. If we had that system in effect.
Well, we have Zoom set up. I don't know, we have to reset it up because we haven't used it. Thankfully, we haven't had to use it in a while.
Sure.
The problem is that if we do board meetings that way, you're full aware that transcripts are necessary. That's an expense for the town.
Sure.
And that's just the way it was written by open meetings law. So that's why I have not did any more Zoom meetings than we've had to, because we do not have a transcriptionist. Donna takes the meeting minutes, but they don't have to be word for word. If you do a Zoom meeting, then it has to be transcribed, and it has to be every and it's gonna cost some money. So, if the board wants to spend that kind of money, I can hook it up.
So what do you gotta have, like a stenographer?
Yeah.
That's exactly what you have to have. Or, you have to pay to have the videos
Service. Yep.
sent to a service, and it's not cheap, but they will
Yeah.
sit there and dictate them.
Yeah.
My mother used to do that
You got a question?
for the radiologist
You have a
at the
question
hospital.
on the floor, Ken.
Actually, two quick ones.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, we're not doing too bad, we might still get out of here by
well
8.
over a year, we've been working on the great website. Are we ever gonna hear anything better?
Well, if you wanna open that door, I brought it in tonight, I just didn't know how much longer everybody wanted to be here. If,
Give us the short
The-
version.
the short version is,
Yeah, 2 minutes.
2-minute version. Short version is we got 2 companies we're looking at right now.
So we are looking,
At this point in time, I believe that, this one is in the lead, okay? And I won't say that on a record right now, who they are, because it hasn't been awarded.
well, that's farther
So-
along than we've seen.
Yeah, my idea is that by the end of this month, we hire one of these 2 firms, have them work to get a website up and running, and we'll leave this one going to the end of the contract, which is about a couple months away.
February?
February, I think. And then that way that gives them a month and a half, 2 months to get whatever they're gonna get to us, get it back to us. When we make the switch, hopefully it'll be seamless and we won't be building it as we have already taken the other one down. You know, that's what happened this time. Basically, we took the old website down and we didn't have a new one built yet with the guy that we had hired to do it. So I'd rather be able to pull one down and put the next one up right at the same time. And the easiest way to do that is to hire them before the contract's up on the other ones. If we're gonna do that, if this board decides to do that.
Just in ending, the guy that we entered into the contract with, he actually called me a few nights ago. He would like to attend the next town board meeting.
You know what, I've asked him to do that a couple different times, cause I've let him
And he
know.
just said to let you know, he'd like to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, he
So
did,
that's up to
He
the
did.
board
Yep.
to entertain it or not.
huh?
You just gotta come, you don't have an.
No, but he does, if he wants to
Wants to
petition
be
to
on that.
speak, he
Oh,
has
yeah.
to
He
be
wanted to go
added to the
first
agenda.
on the
at
agenda.
On a petition. And, you know what, it wouldn't hurt, at least he can,
I don't think anything he could say could save him at this
I was
point.
gonna say 2 months from now.
no, but
Say all we gotta say.
at least he'll realize, you know, how upset everybody is, including the board and the citizens that live in this town. I know that,
Counted on
I know that he said that there was gonna be big changes and everything would be done by the end of the holidays, because he had time to work on it. But again, that's not our fault or our problem.
Yeah,
But that's the long and the short of it, we're working on it.
I know you said about the code guy, what about stuff that was already in the works way before this? That pile of crap that's been there since the fire, just off of
Oh, I saw it yesterday.
Ira Settlement Road, or Military Turnpike, the trailer that burnt that
Mm-hmm.
was an illegal thing. 6, 8 months ago, and now it's burnt, and it's still bad, and you hear the cats out there every night.
Right.
Anything ever gonna be done?
I believe that.
Well over a year and a half.
I can maybe just say it was going to go to court. I don't even know if I can say what day it was supposed to go there, being that we don't have code enforcement officer. I'm not quite sure how that court date worked out. It was all scheduled, it was all in the mix, but now that kinda just, it's in a hold until we get somebody's still gotta represent the town when they go to court. So it is getting worked on. Unfortunately, it's gonna stall that out a little bit until we get the rest
It'll
of
be
it
covered
worked
with
out.
snow and hidden in a little while.
What about,
I did go through the process, and like I said, because it's a cleanup now, more than a
Yeah.
demolishment. I don't know if I still gotta get the 3 quotes, I may still have to do that through the county office to put it on the tax. It has to go through Kimberly Davis at the treasurer's office, and I contacted Real Property 3 months ago. It takes that long to get things on the court docket. It's not helpful when things don't work out and, you know, all parties aren't there for the court date. But I think that's about probably the most I can say about that. But it'll be, it'll be worked out.
what about Flat Rock Road and Shingle? Is that gonna be our responsibility, or whose responsibility is that gonna be? Well, where the house burnt down and it's just great big piles of rubbish.
On the corner,
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same thing. That paperwork was already into. You seen the reimbursement on the paper served on that. And I don't wanna give out names because it ain't
You know,
stuff.
all the incidents like
But
that,
it just, it all
there
is
should
on
be like a
hold.
timeline, you know, too, on whoever owns that property. You know,
What that-
I mean,
It's up to the
it's
judge.
horrible what everything takes so long,
Yeah,
you know.
and unfortunately, it's like you gotta give them a 15 or 30 day, you know, remedy order, and then usually the judges like to see them at least with 2 of those before they're gonna do something, drop the hammer drastically and do something else.
Yeah.
So you're looking at 60 to 90 days, plus whenever that can get scheduled and get to court. So it's not really a
3
true
months, then you
60
got-
or 90
then you got
days.
6 months.
There you
and then
go.
You got 8 months.
There you go. And that's the way things are today, but unfortunately I don't have any control over that.
Oh, yeah.
All I can do is ask that who's ever in those positions do it.
Yeah,
Alright?
for sure.
I'm good. You're good.
I make a motion.
Adjourn. Beautiful.